Zhao Xuan traveled to ancient dynasties and was fortunate enough to be reincarnated as the son of the emperor. Before he could start criticizing the dross of ancient feudal society, he realized that this was a world of martial arts that blended various martial arts novels, movies, and TV dramas. Zhao Xuan, who originally had no intention of gaining power and only wanted to be a carefree prince, could not resist the treacherous nature of the world in his dream. He was forced to embark on the path of the emperor, with white bones and blood-flowing rafts, and was forced to die if he did not advance. Keywords of the novel. Zongwu. The Emperor's Growth Plan. No pop-ups, Zongwu. The Emperor's Growth Plan TXT Complete Collection Download, Zongwu. The Emperor's Growth Plan Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. The Ninth Prince. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Ninth Prince. The green trees are lush and the summer sun is long. The reflection of the tower falls into the pond. The crystal curtain moves and a gentle breeze rises, filling the courtyard with the fragrance of roses. In the scorching summer, a handsome young man with fair and smooth skin was sitting in the pavilion enjoying the cool breeze. The black and shiny long hair is neatly and smoothly fixed with a gilded purple crown, and the white clothes worn on the body are all made of natural silk. It is warm in winter and cool in summer, smooth, and then woven by famous hands. It is covered in clusters of flowers and embroidered with a lifelike white python. Just this piece of clothing is worth 1,000 gold, not to mention the folding fan held by the young man. It is an ancient fan personally inscribed by the great poet Wang Hexiang of the previous dynasty. For antique enthusiasts, it is priceless. If it is placed in someone else's hands, they would not even want to take it out. It is a treasure that someone secretly admires at home. In the young man's hand, it is just a thing for fanning, no different from an ordinary fan. Your Highness Zhou's poetry is really getting better and better. I, as an ignorant and inexperienced person, have been deeply shocked upon hearing it. Yes. Yes. If I were to say that your Highness's literary talent is comparable to none of the new Jinshi candidates this year. If your Highness also participates in the scientific examination, there would be no need for them. Beside the young man, there were 2 servants who accompanied him. After the young man finished reciting poetry, he quickly flattered him, afraid of falling behind. Although they were burly, their voices were extremely sharp, and it was not difficult to tell from their clothing that they were 2 father-in-law. From their respectful words, it is not difficult to tell that the young man in front of them, who embodies the beauty of the heavenly and heavenly bell spirits, is the 9th son of the current emperor of Song, the 9th Prince Zhao Xuan. All right. Stop flattering this palace. I know what level of proficiency this palace has. Don't say these words again in the future. If my father hears them, he should scold me for not knowing etiquette and being arrogant. 9th Prince Zhao Xuan waved his hand and interrupted the flattery of the 2 close attendants beside him. He has listened to such compliments since he was young, and his ears are almost calloused. He has been secretly pleased from the beginning to now impatient. Zhao Xuan actually had a secret in his heart that he couldn't tell anyone, which was that he was actually reincarnated with Su Hui. In his past life, Zhao Xuan was just an unemployed young man who enjoyed reading martial arts novels. After passing away in an accident due to a car accident, his soul inexplicably came to this world. This world is a mixed martial arts world of Jin Gu Liang, Wen Huang, and some martial arts movies and TV dramas. There are many martial arts masters like Crucian Carp crossing the river, and after singing, "You can invite me to appear," either for fame or for profit, there are also great heroes who serve the country and the people, voluntarily stationed at the border to resist external enemies. The world of Kyushu has a vast territory. In addition to the great Song dynasty occupying the Central Plains, there are also countries such as the Great Liao, Jin, Mongolian Yuan, and later Jin that are constantly preparing to invade the Central Plains. In addition, there are also small countries such as Western Xia and Dali struggling to survive in the midst of great powers. As a martial arts enthusiast, Zhao Xuan, who has traveled through time, naturally wants to have youthful energy and explore the world. Zhao Xuan, who was a salted fish in his past life, had no interest in the throne despite being a prince. In this life, his birth mother came from a humble background and was only a rural woman. She passed away early without the protection of her mother. Thanks to Zhao Xuan's adult soul, he was careful and cautious in everything, which allowed him to live to this day without any danger. If he dared to show any interest in the throne, he would have died countless times. Perhaps due to his martial arts skills, Emperor Zhezong of Song in this world did not die young and had no children. Instead, he worked hard to govern, with a continuous succession of 12 princes and 6 princesses. Among emperors throughout the Song dynasty, they were able to give birth. Zhao Xuan's mother was met by Zhao Su during a private visit in his WeChat uniform. The two of them fell in love and soon developed a hidden pregnancy. Unfortunately, shortly after returning to the palace, they had difficulty giving birth to Zhao Xuan and died. Zhao Xuan was able to survive in the palace thanks to Zhao Su's guilt towards his mother. He specially sent his confidants to take care of him and warned the concubines in the harem, which prevented anyone from causing trouble for him. But this love affair can only make his treatment the same as other princes. Don't expect to become the crown prince, and the smooth opening of the mansion and the enfeoffment of the king is already the best result. While Zhao Xuan was chatting casually with the eunuchs Qin Chongying and Qin Xuanli around him. But behind her came a pleasant female voice, "I can't believe that His Highness Zhou, who usually doesn't show his elegance, still has such literary talent. It really surprises me." Upon hearing these words, Zhao Xuan immediately turned to look and found that the person who came was actually Chen Guifei, who had recently been granted the title of Empress Dowager. This Chen Guifei was not ordinary. She had only been in the palace for a short time and was favored by the emperor. As soon as the attendant finished sleeping, she was granted the title of Zhao Yi. Within a month, she was granted the title of Empress Dowager. Although he didn't know the purpose of the other party coming to find him, in this situation, he could only resort to provocation. Zhao Xuan straightened his clothes and bowed in salute. "See Chen Guifei, may I know what the Empress Dowager is looking for me for?" "Your Highness, there's no need to be too polite. I just happened to pass by here and heard your Highness reciting poetry again. I was momentarily mesmerized and walked over. If it disturbed your Highness's pleasure, please forgive me." Chen Guifei was dressed in a pink rose-scented tight-fitting robe with sleeves and a top, covered in an emerald green smoke gauze floral skirt. She tied a large bow with gold silk soft smoke luo at her waist, and her hair hung low and slanted with a jade zonfeng hairpin. Her figure was slender, seductive, and alluring. Judging from his appearance, he is like a soft catkin, with skin as thick as condensed fat, a collar as sharp as a brush, teeth as sharp as a rhinoceros, and eyebrows as graceful as a phoenix. No wonder such a person with a gorgeous crown in the 6 palaces can only receive the favor of the emperor. Looking at the proud Empress Dowager in front of him, Zhao Xuan didn't know why she came to find him. He couldn't help but think to himself, how could a palace like himself, with its transparency, attract the attention of this highly anticipated consort Chen to come and visit? He didn't believe in any passing encounters, was fascinated by poetry, and could thrive in the cannibalistic palace. Where could there be any foolishness or sweetness? "Empress, you're joking." Zhao Xuan's little ink in his belly is difficult to wait for in a grand hall. It's just for his own entertainment. What's the point of Empress coming here for? You should know that Shuiyun Pavilion is a place where I come here every day to study and cool off. With just a little inquiry, I can tell that I will be here at this time. It's just a chance encounter, and even fools don't believe it. Oh, can't you come here to enjoy the cool breeze at this palace? Watching Chen Guifei still pretending to be foolish, Zhao Xuan had no intention of playing riddles with her and immediately returned. The Empress laughed, "She can go wherever she wants. If there's nothing else, Zhao Xuan will take a step first." After speaking, she turned around and prepared to leave. Upon seeing this, Consort Chen no longer pretended to be mysterious. Your Highness, don't worry. You really guessed it right. I have something important to discuss with Your Highness 9 this time. You all have to leave first. Yes, upon hearing the instructions of the Empress Dowager, the palace maids and eunuchs who were serving on the side quickly retreated, not worried at all about whether being alone with Chen Guifei and Zhao Xuan would be detrimental to the two of them. Chen Chongying and Chen Xuanli did not want to leave, fearing that Chen Guifei would be detrimental to their master. However, their low status led them straight away by the eunuchs under Chen Guifei's command. Seeing this situation, Zhao Xuan sounded an alarm in his heart. He, who had always been cautious, did not seem to have any relationship with this beautiful woman. Moreover, he was still a lonely man and a widow. Although he was in the pavilion, if someone with a heart saw him and falsely accused him of having an affair with this enchanting concubine, he could not speak clearly. But he didn't want to offend Consort Chen for no reason, so he could only sit and watch the other party act like this. However, Chen Guifei seemed completely unprepared, walking slowly towards Zhao Xuan with a light lotus step. As the two of them got closer, Zhao Xuan could smell her fragrance, fresh and elegant, like a serene orchid in an empty valley. There was no spice in the world that could have this taste. This was the body fragrance that Chen Guifei had carried since she was born. Zhao Xuan, a hot-blooded young man, had to step back in succession to prevent losing his composure after passing through this, in order to avoid making a fool of himself. Upon seeing this, Chen Guifei only slightly covered her mouth and smiled before stopping her approach. Her breathtaking voice, like a orchid and a yellow oriole rising from a valley, was as captivating as she said, "This time I came here recklessly. I only hope that the 9th prince can agree to one thing for me, and after it is done, I will be willing to offer 400,000 silver as a reward." Although 400,000 taels of silver is very tempting, Zhao Xuan was not blinded by the huge temptation. You should know that even though the Song dynasty was famous for wealth, the people of the Song dynasty only earned 3 to 4 taels of silver per year, and they can use 400,000 taels of silver as a reward. It can be imagined that if they agree to this transaction, they may not want to give their lives. Zhao Xuan is not a fool. He didn't even want to know the transaction details and quickly refused, "Thank you very much for your kindness, madam. However, I have always been used to being careless. With such a large amount of money, I am not fortunate enough to enjoy it. Let's go find someone else." But Chen Guifei seemed to have missed Zhao Xuan's refusal, her red lips slightly parted, and she continued to smile and say things that made Zhao Xuan change her color. "I want you to admit that you were momentarily blinded by your lust and failed to flirt with a young lady." End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Unconsciously. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Unconsciously, Empress Dowager. Upon hearing these words, Zhao Xuan was shocked and angry in his heart, but he still suppressed his anger and remained calm. He knew very well that he had never done such a thing before. You should know that beautiful women are all women of the emperor, and in history, there have been no beautiful women who have never married a prince. But that was all agreed upon by the emperor. For the emperor, what I gave you is yours. If I don't give you, you can't even think about it. It's not that there is a young prince who couldn't help but flirt with the passing ladies for a while. After all, not every lady can fly up a branch and become a phoenix, and some may not even see the emperor's face for a lifetime, so they can only endure it. Listen to Chen Guifei's words. I'm afraid he'll admit that it's not just about teasing the ladies with words, but it could be even more serious, causing chaos in the palace. Zhao Xuan doesn't know where he offended the empress. If there was any disrespect, please forgive me. I don't know why the empress falsely accused Zhao Xuan with false information. If it's a joke, Zhao Xuan will pretend not to have heard of it. Goodbye. After speaking, Zhao Xuan was ready to quickly leave this land of trouble and stay away from the woman Chen Guifei. They all said that beauty is a disaster, and the ancients never deceived me. Zhao Xuan could already imagine that he had fallen into a huge whirlpool. If I don't leave again, I'm afraid I'll drown in this vortex. However, it was still too late. When Chen Guifei found her, she had already entered the center of the vortex and could not escape. Chen Guifei didn't stop her, just sat calmly on the chair, gently lifting her delicate jade hands, leaning her neck to one side, revealing her pure white swan neck. She leaned her head against her hand and lazily said, "Your Highness, why are you so anxious? It's not too late to leave after listening to my concubine's words. If your 9th Highness were to leave like this, he might not be guilty of teasing a young lady, but instead of teasing and bullying a noble concubine. I don't know which crime is more serious." Hearing Chen Guifei's naked threat, Zhao Xuan calmed down. He turned around, sat down again, and brought himself a glass of wine. He calmly took a sip before saying, "Since the Empress Dowager must put Zhao Xuan to death, can we make Zhao Xuan a clear ghost? I know why the Empress Dowager must force Zhao Xuan." Chen Guifei smiled and poured herself a glass of wine, filling Zhao Xuan's glass before saying, "It's not that I have to put your Highness to death. I have no choice but to wrongly harm your Highness." Not long ago, a young lady who had just entered the palace met a noblewoman who had drunk too much. The noblewoman's lust rose for a moment, and she wanted to rape her. Fortunately, the noblewoman resisted desperately. The cries for help summoned the patrolling guards, scaring her away, and she managed to escape a disaster. During her struggle, the lady grabbed a piece of jade pendant from the noblewoman. It is precisely what the emperor personally bestowed upon his princes. Zhao Xuan drank another glass of wine and calmly sneered, "In other words, I, the powerless and powerless prince, am the scapegoat you have chosen for the infatuated prince." Chen Guifei didn't seem to notice the sarcastic tone in Zhao Xuan's tone. She still smiled and helped him fill up the wine, continuing, "After the emperor learned about this, Longyan was furious. Just as he was about to order the discovery of this rebellious son, news came that the 6th prince of the Jin dynasty, Prince Zhao Wanyan Honglai, was leading troops to war with the Liao dynasty. So my father was momentarily delayed by political affairs and didn't want to miss the opportunity to send troops to Liao at the same time. After all, the 16 states of Yan and Yun have always been a thorn in the heart of Song dynasty. Compared to this matter, forcing a courtesan to rape her is just a private matter of the royal family. My father has always been clear about public and private affairs, so he put this matter aside. After dealing with political affairs, he will deal with this private matter." Zhao Xuan followed her words and snorted coldly, continuing to say, "That is to say, this military action by Yan Honglai against Liao has not only given Song the opportunity to reclaim lost land, but also given you the opportunity to fish in troubled waters and change pillars. You dare to directly deal with this matter. Tell me, I'm afraid I've already prepared a foolproof plan." Chen Guifei clapped her hands and said, "You're absolutely right. To be honest, except for your Highness, the on-duty guards, eunuchs, and palace maids, even that lady is our person. Whether your Highness agrees or not, you have been acquitted of this charge. It's a pity. If I had known your Highness 9 was so intelligent, maybe I would have chosen you to cooperate. After all, you are much stronger than that pervert. I really regret not getting to know your Highness 9 earlier." A pair of captivating beautiful eyes seemed to speak, conveying a sense of sadness and sorrow. If someone else were to look at you with such a striking beauty in front of them and look at you with such touching eyes, they would probably want to gouge their hearts out. However, Zhao Xian's heart was not only slightly charming, but also felt nauseous. After all, he was a complete sacrifice in their plan. Zhao Xuan took a deep breath and stared fixedly at Chen Guifei, saying in a low voice, "If I truthfully report to my father, I'm afraid you won't do well either. Bullying the emperor is a big crime." Chen Guifei stood up and looked down at Zhao Xuan. It wasn't until this moment that the beautiful snake revealed its fangs. "Your Highness, I advise you to accept this 400,000 taels honestly. You can't compete with us. Even if you say it, it won't do you any good. Instead, it will attract revenge that you can't bear. Your Highness is about to open the palace and kill an unpopular prince. It won't cost you 400,000 taels of silver. Chen Guifei paused for a moment, then whispered in Zhao Xuan's ear, "Don't worry, besides this 400,000 taels of silver, you can still get our friendship. We will do our best to plead for your mercy and not let you bear too much punishment. After all, we don't want to be caught dead in the net, do we?" Zhao Xuan clenched his fist tightly, not even feeling his nails piercing into his flesh. The pain in his body was far less than the humiliation in his heart. In his heart, he fantasized countless times about slapping the cruel slut in front of him, loudly cursing him for being despicable and shameless. But in the end, in reality, Zhao Xuan still closed his eyes and slowly said, "I know now, I will admit that I lost my virtue after drinking and willingly humbled myself. Chen Guifei, please help yourself, just let me, the sinner, enjoy this leisurely time in the end." After receiving a satisfactory answer, Consort Chen nodded and placed 400,000 taels of silver on the table. She casually took a book and pressed it down, then turned around and left, as if staying here for an extra second was an insult to her. The palace maids and eunuchs gathered around again, creating a vast expanse of darkness. They also brought handkerchiefs to clean her hands, holding an umbrella to shade her. There is still someone behind who is fanning with a fan. After they left, Chen Chongying and Chen Xuanli were able to escape. They were worried about Zhao Xuan and didn't have time to tidy up their messy clothes, so they quickly ran to the pavilion. As soon as the two entered the pavilion, sharp-eyed Chen Xuanli noticed that Zhao Xuan's hands were bleeding downwards. He quickly took out a handkerchief from his arms, wanting to bandage Zhao Xuan. But Zhao Xuan just waved his hand and said, "You two, step back first and let me be quiet alone." The two of them looked at each other. They had been following Zhao Xuan since they were young, and the relationship between the master and servant was deep. In all these years, they had never seen Zhao Xuan so low-hearted. In the past, although Zhao Xuan acted cautiously, he could always see a sense of vitality from him, which was something that only people with hope for the future could have. Now, they could not see any vitality from Zhao Xuan, but rather a sense of stillness, which Zhao Xuan had never seen before. Chen Chongying and Chen Xuanli knew that all these changes came from the noble empress, and they didn't know what they had said. His Highness had become like this now. Although they were worried, what could the two lowly eunuchs do? I could only listen to Zhao Xuan's words and retreat outside the pavilion, silently praying. Zhao Xuan sat alone in the pavilion, silently pondering. At this moment, Zhao Xuan had never longed for power more than now. Why did Chen Guifei and the people behind her dare not seek the help of other princes, but dare to openly threaten herself? Because they have power. They each have interest groups behind them, with influence and background. And only myself, with nothing. I have lived like walking on thin ice these years, and no one dares to offend me. I just want to wait until I see the light and become a carefree prince, while exploring the world and realizing my childhood dreams. I was finally about to leave the palace, but I received such bad news. Zhao Xuan knew that looking for him as a scapegoat not only made him easy to handle, but also completely kicked him out of the competition for the throne. Compared with other princes, Zhao Xuan's only advantage was that Zhao Su felt guilty about him. As long as he withstood this thunder and lost the emperor's love, it would never pose a threat. Some things are not something you can escape if you want to. Even if you are not in conflict with the world, you will still be targeted because you are weak. Being weak is all original sin. Zhao Xuan suddenly opened his eyes, and an unprecedented light burst out in his eyes. It was the light of ambition. Since you look down on me and think I can handle it at will, then let's wait and see. Even if it's a dead end, I still have to seek survival in death. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Emperor's Growth Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Emperor's Growth Plan, Ding. It has been detected that the host finally meets the psychological requirements, and the emperor's growth plan has begun to be executed. What sound? A mechanical sound suddenly rang in Zhao Xuan's ear. Upon hearing this familiar and unfamiliar sound, Zhao Xuan thought he had hallucinations after being hit. However, the light screen that appeared before him confirmed that he had truly awakened his golden finger. Start sending beginner gift packages. Host to choose growth direction. 1. King's Way. Duke Shou spits his breasts and returns to the heart of the world. This route will cultivate the host as a benevolent and virtuous sage, gaining the support and love of people all over the world. 2. Hegemony. Those who follow me live, those who go against me die. This route, the host will use force to dominate the world, stepping on the mountains and seas of corpses to ascend the throne. Looking at the options in front of him and recalling Chen Guifei's seemingly weak but powerless hardline power, Zhao Xuan did not hesitate to choose 2. Zhao Xuan had also fantasized about one day being able to ascend the throne with the support of the people. However, reason told him that option 1 was a big trap. He was neither the legitimate eldest son nor had any family influence. If he wanted to ascend the throne based on popularity, he was just joking. Have you ever seen an emperor ascend because of his high reputation among the people? For Zhao Xuan, it was more realistic to rely on his own hands to conquer a land of iron barrels, so he chose to be domineering. Qin Shi Huang swept through the 6 countries with the help of the great Qin iron cavalry, and every citizen of the 6 countries hated him. However, while he was alive, no one could shake his land. Moreover, if he were to become the scapegoat, he wouldn't have any reputation. The host has made a choice and is now officially distributing the beginner gift pack. Please confirm receipt, confirm receipt. Quickly, Zhao Xuan felt a powerful force surging out of his body, as if lifting his hand and foot could open mountains, rocks, seas, and landslides. Zhao Xuan knew that this was an illusion caused by the sudden surge of power, and quickly overcame this charming feeling with perseverance. Settle your mind and check out what your beginner gift pack has brought you. There are 3 things in the gift package. Pure Young Body, Ba Qin Divine Skill, and Heavenly Dragon Qi Pure Young Body. From the Golden Light Puppet Show, it is the natural physique of the first protagonist in the Golden Light series, Shi Yanwen. Her body is naturally pure Yang Qi, and she can achieve twice the result with half the effort when practicing martial arts until she reaches the level of Yang. Ba Qin Divine Skill. Originating from the Legend of Heroes, it is a divine skill practiced by Li Canglong, the second leader of the Tianlong sect. It is extremely strong and powerful, just like how Qin Emperor dominated the world, sweeping away the 6 harmonies and sweeping through the wastelands. It can be considered the most domineering martial arts in the world. However, due to its excessive strength, practicing it in the end can cause internal damage to oneself. Only 4 successful forces can be used. Cooperating with pure Yang body cultivation can avoid side effects. Heavenly Dragon Qi. From the Legend of the Heavenly Emperor series, it is a symbol of the true Dragon Emperor. It can turn misfortune into good luck and improve skills in critical moments. The owner is destined to embark on the path of dominating the world. Dragon Qi cannot guarantee that the host will become an emperor. If the host is too useless to compete for power, Dragon Qi will disappear on its own. Zhao Xuan's 18 years of energy cultivation efforts couldn't help but bring joy to his face. Not to mention anything else, just the Emperor's dragon energy made him ecstatic. As someone who had read comics, he knew that this meant he finally had the capital to become an emperor. As for the dissipation of dragon energy, there was no need to consider it at all. If he were so useless that he couldn't even become an emperor in a systematic way, it would be better to hit him dead. The pure young body and the divine skill of Ba Qin have given him the capital to become stronger. You should know that the martial arts value of the Golden Light world is much higher than that of martial arts novels. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is immortal martial arts, and the Legend of Swordsman and Clouds is his favorite game before his time traveling. Although the main storyline is set in the post-Jin Yong era, and the top experts in it are only at the level of the Five Wonders, it cannot withstand the prequel. Just fill up the combat power, practice martial arts to the peak, and you can give birth to the Yuanying. Subsequently, Zhao Xuan began to study the functions of the system. The main function of this system is to obtain various rewards through lucky draws, including peerless divine weapons, divine skill secrets, various genius treasures, and even to draw characters to become his subordinates. The number of lucky draws can be obtained by completing the tasks issued by the system. In addition, one can also achieve various accomplishments by oneself. For example, just now, I collected the silver banknotes on the table. After all, I sold myself to Empress Qin in exchange. Although I detest her attitude of playing with me at will, is the silver banknotes innocent? Just as I held the silver bill in my arms, I heard the system prompt sound, "Congratulations to the host for achieving a wealth of money. The total wealth has reached 403,500 taels. There will be 10 chances to reward the lucky draw. I hope the host will continue to work hard." Looking at the silver note in his arms, Zhao Xuan laughed at himself, not expecting that the first time he received a reward was because of this. It was truly a blessing in disguise, a blessing in disguise. System, lottery. Looking at the reward he had drawn in front of him, Zhao Xuan unconsciously opened his mouth. Ha ha ha. Zhao Xuan immediately laughed and walked out of the pavilion. Chen Chongying and the other two didn't know what was wrong with the master. With this skill, they swept away their previous decadence and a confident light appeared on their faces. I haven't heard of when the master learned to change his face. This is, but there is a sound coming. Your Majesty has an order, please accept it from His Highness 9. Upon seeing the eunuch delivering the edict, Zhao Xuan quickly knelt down to receive it, while sneering inwardly. It was a coincidence that the sudden edict came. Just as Consort Chen had left, the one who delivered the edict came from behind. According to your Majesty's orders, Prince Xianzhou will immediately go to the imperial study to meet him. A eunuch spoke in a sharp voice, conveying the decree. After finishing speaking, he looked at Zhao Xuan expressionlessly and said, "Your Highness, please don't make your Majesty wait in a hurry." The person who came to deliver the edict was Sun Gonggang, who was not only a popular figure around the emperor, but also the godson of Lu Shi, the deputy governor of the East Factory. Even princes like Zhao Xuan, who had no power or influence, dared not offend him. Although Zhao Xuan had undergone a transformation, he still did not want to make enemies for nothing. Zhao Xuan straightened up and gave a glance. Chen Chongying, standing beside him, calmly handed an ingot of silver into Sun Gongang's hand and whispered, "I don't know why your Majesty summoned His Highness the 9th Prince. I hope you can give me some guidance." After weighing the weight of the silver, Sun Gongang's face showed a satisfied smile and he said with a smile, "Your Highness, there's no need to panic. Your Majesty is here to summon all the princes, not just you, Your Highness." After thinking about it, I felt that Zhao Xuan was quite generous in his actions. Although he didn't have much background, he was also favored by the emperor. Since there was no one around, I might as well sell my personal feelings to him. Then I continued, "Your Highness will go in soon. Be careful when you speak. When Your Highness orders, your mood may not be good." After hearing this, Zhao Xuan had a clear idea in his heart. He knew that he had come to tarnish the young lady and personally handed Sun Gonggang a golden bean, but the other party pretended to refuse. Oh my, how could this be done? My father-in-law is too worried. This is just asking him to have a cup of tea. It's nothing, please don't refuse. After being polite, Sun Gonggang took advantage of the situation and happily thought of the old saying. Good people have good rewards. Just as he said he wanted to offer a personal favor, he received a reward. It seems that this 9th prince is worth making friends with. Alright, Your Highness, I've finished passing this message. I have to pass it on to other princes, so let's take a step forward. Your Highness, don't let the Holy One wait too long. Thank you for Sun Gongong's reminder. I will go to this palace right away. Watching Sun Gongong leave, Zhao Xuan also withdrew his fake smile. Thinking that he was about to become a scapegoat, he couldn't help but sneer, Chen Guifei and the good brothers of this palace, this great play has just begun, but I need to write this script. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Great Disappointment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Great disappointment in the imperial study. Emperor Zhao Su of the Song dynasty looked angrily at the princes kneeling on the ground, wishing to immediately find out the unworthy villain. He never expected such a scoundrel to exist in his own son. How dare you do such a heinous and immoral thing? Shame the face of the royal family. Angry Zhao Su even smashed his favorite glass cup. After falling, I became even angrier and regretted it. After all, I still quite like this thing. Among the princes, those who were well informed, such as the eldest prince, the second prince, and others, received news that someone had committed an ugly act of forcing a courtesan to rape her. They secretly prayed to themselves that it was the other party who did it, in order to reduce their competitors. There were also those who were not clear and uneasy, not knowing why the father emperor had caused such a big fire, and even summoned all the princes, not even giving them a seat, and their knees were sore. And those who are guilty of being thieves are also afraid in their hearts that Chen Guifei did not complete the task. When the Zayunu points out, under the anger of the emperor, they will completely miss the crown prince's position after Zhao Xuan and the other princes arrived together. Zhao Su spoke up and said, I have called you all over this time. If you have something important to tell you, please listen to me. Don't say I didn't give you a chance, come out now and admit it. If you are young and ignorant, I will handle it lightly. If I find out, don't blame me for not considering the relationship between father and son. Upon hearing these words, some princes were puzzled, some lowered their heads and sneered, and some pretended to be calm. However, Zhao Xian's eyes lit up, as if he didn't know what had happened, with an innocent expression on his face. Seeing no one come out to plead guilty, Zhao Su laughed angrily. All right, it seems that his good son really didn't take him seriously. He didn't even seize the last opportunity one gave him, so he didn't need to say anything more. He ordered immediately, someone, bring the beautiful girl Jiang Yuyan up. Upon hearing the order, 2 guards walked in with a woman. As soon as she entered, the woman knelt on the ground and cried, Your Majesty, please be the ruler of the people's women. If the guards hadn't arrived in time, the innocence of the people's women would have been. I saw the beautiful woman's long black hair draped over her shoulders, like a black waterfall, smooth and smooth, skin surpasses snow, it can be broken by blowing and bouncing, the watery big eyes are pure and lively, and the tearful appearance of the pear blossoms is even more heartbreaking. Zhao Su had always thought he had seen her before, and now that he had seen her, even though he had seen countless beauties in the harem and such stunning beauties as Lady Chen, he couldn't help but feel a bit amazed. He couldn't believe that there was such a stunning beauty in his own palace. Seeing Jiang Yuyan's pitiful appearance, no wonder his son was heartbroken. Thinking of this, his heart became angry again. Don't be afraid, I will make the decision for you. As long as you identify that villain, I promise you that I will punish you severely and not lend a loan. The princes finally understood what had happened and couldn't help but marvel at their brave brothers. Zhao Xian was stunned for a moment, only because the pitiful woman in front of him, in his memory, was a ruthless person who turned the entire TV series into a list of survivors. I didn't expect that the beautiful lady was actually her, but even so, I was still on the verge of getting angry. And according to the development of the plot, she has already entered the palace, indicating that the other party is not acting like an innocent victim like a little white rabbit, but has already been blackened out. The culprit, upon hearing this, was so frightened that he broke out in a cold sweat and was in chaos. He cursed Consort Chen for being unreliable in handling affairs, taking her own benefits and not doing anything. He even claimed to be an ally, just like a pig teammate. Just as he was about to lose control of the pressure, Zhao Xuan took the initiative to stand up. Looking at the son in front of me who was most in debt and also my favorite in my heart, I suddenly stood up. Although I had already received the answer in my heart, I held a glimmer of hope and asked, Xian heir, why did you get up? Zhao Xuan jumped out of the crowd, knelt down again, and pressed his head to the ground. He respectfully said, my son deserves to die for his crimes. After drinking, he has lost his virtue and attempted to rape a beautiful woman. Please punish me, father. Emperor Zhezong of Song was furious. He had doubted all his sons, but he had never doubted Zhao Xuan. Calling him over was just a passing act, but to his surprise, the murderer was really him. You scoundrel! Do you still know who you are? You are the prince of the great Song dynasty. My son! How could you do such a heinous and immoral thing? The books of sages and sages you read are all in your dog's stomach. Ah! Faced with Zhao Su's scolding, Zhao Xuan just lowered his head and remained silent, as if he had been appointed, while all the princes became mute. No one dared to speak too much at this moment, afraid of getting caught in the fire. Jiang Yuyan's heart was also full of confusion. When she was under guard, a eunuch once came to deliver a message, saying that if she wanted to survive, she should keep her mouth shut and not bite casually. Originally, Jiang Yuyan was like a rootless duckweed in the palace. Although she had deep intentions, she was powerless to resist, which further stimulated her longing for power and power. Watching the prince in front of her, who was even more beautiful than a woman, take the initiative to confess her guilt, Jiang Yuyan couldn't help but feel a sense of fear. The other party's strong influence, along with Zhao Xuan, who was the prince, would have to take responsibility for him. If she didn't cooperate, the consequences could be imagined. However, she also thought that the other party could even be a chess piece for the prince, but she was afraid that she would never allow the truth to surface. And only the dead can keep secrets. At the thought of this, Jiang Yuyan couldn't think of any way to break the deadlock in her heart. Is it difficult for me to go and beg Lu Shi? Just thinking of Lu's various forms of abuse towards her and even shattering her deceased mother's spiritual position. Jiang Yuyan's eyes were filled with resentment and hatred, which was linked to Lu Shi. Otherwise, relying on her godfather's power, how could Lu Shi be so rampant? But in order to seek revenge, she must live on, no matter what method she uses. Zhao Su was so angry that he even wanted to demote Zhao Xuan to a commoner, but in the end, he still remembered Zhao Xuan's mother. She was the most beloved and unforgettable woman in Zhao Su's life. She gave everything to herself, but not only did she break the promise of a lifetime, but she also couldn't save her life. Looking at Zhao Xuan's appearance that resembled his mother, Zhao Su still softened and said, "Don't you have anything to defend?" Looking at Zhao Xuan, who was still silent in front of him, Song Zhezong felt an unnamed anger in his heart, except for the 9th prince. Get out of here. The others quickly got up and left when they saw that the show was no longer good, and they felt uncomfortable kneeling. Among them, the 4th prince left the most urgently, and the 1st prince left last. They couldn't bear to look at Zhao Xuan. Jiang Yuyan sneered in her heart, "I just said I want to make decisions for myself, so I have to cover up for the culprit." However, this 9th prince is also pitiful, innocent and suffering. Just as the guards were about to take her down with them, they were stopped by the emperor. "Wait, she'll stay with me too." Zhao Su looked painfully at his son in front of him and said, "Do you know that committing such a great crime would not be too much for me to demote you to a commoner and imprison you?" Looking at Zhao Xuan who remained silent, Zhao Su became angry. "Okay, since you don't say it, I don't want to hear it anymore. I will demote you to a commoner now, drive you out of Tokyo, and never enter." Zhao Xuan suddenly looked up at Zhao Su, as if he wanted to firmly imprint his appearance in his mind, and said, "I have nothing to say. I know my sins are deep, and even if my father scolds me, I have no complaints. I just want to take a good look at my father again, hoping that he will take good care of his health. I will pray day and night for my father's longevity." Upon hearing these words and looking at the emperor in front of him, Zhao Su regretted it. He remembered that when Zhao Xuan was a child, he loved to surround him and call him Dad. He was also the only prince among many who would call him Dad. From childhood to adulthood, he also liked this son the most. However, gradually he didn't see him anymore. Zhao Su knew that it was others who were afraid that Zhao Xuan would be favored by him alone, so he changed his mind and didn't let him find him. He was also too busy with political affairs and neglected this matter. When he saw him again, Zhao Xuan, like his other sons, began to be respectful to him and no longer called him Dad. It has been changed to Father's Emperor. Zhao Xuan knew that someone had taught him this. The closer he got to Zhao Xuan, the more dangerous it was for him. In order to protect him, he could only deliberately distance himself. At this moment, he suddenly remembered something and quickly called out, "Someone, bring that jade pendant over." End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Driving out of Tokyo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Driving out of Tokyo. Zhao Xuan's eyes flickered deep, and finally he thought of it. He had originally planned to quietly transfer his words to the jade pendant, but it seemed that he didn't need to take action himself. Father himself had already thought of this. Except for my father and myself, no one else could possibly know about this matter. That's why my jade pendant is different from others. Everyone thought that the material of the jade pendant Zhao Su gave to the princes was the same, but in fact, only Zhao Xuan's jade pendant was different. Zhao Xuan's piece was actually purchased by Zhao Su when he met Zhao Xuan's biological mother in the folk and played together. At that time, Zhao Xuan's biological mother, who did not know Zhao Su's true identity, used all her savings to purchase this ordinary jade pendant as a token of love and gave it to Zhao Su. For Zhao Su, precious jade and stones could not compare to this sincerity. At first, Zhao Su wanted to give him the same jade pendant as other princes, and was reluctant to give him this one. However, as soon as he realized that he had not only let down his previous vows, but also caused her to perish, he had no face to face this jade pendant. So he gave it to Zhao Xuan and told him that it was her mother's relic, and made an agreement with him not to tell anyone. In the end, it was my mother who saved me. Chen Guifei, I didn't expect it. This time, I asked you to lift a stone and smash your own foot. I swear. I will definitely repay everything 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. After carefully examining the jade pendant, Zhao Su was shocked and pale. He stood up, feeling helpless, puzzled, and angry, and asked, "Xianer, why?" Then he turned to ask Jiang Yuyan, "I want you to be honest. Is it the person in front of you who is trying to rape you? Answer truthfully. If you dare to tell a half-lie, I will cut you to pieces and dismember you to pieces." Jiang Yuyan thought the matter had settled, but she didn't expect the willows to turn dark and the flowers to turn bright. At the same time, she keenly realized that perhaps this was her glimmer of vitality. Immediately lifting his head and pretending to carefully examine Zhao Xuan's appearance, he said, "I inform your majesty that the 9th prince is not that thief." Upon hearing this, Zhao Su became furious and said, "Why didn't you just say it? But you had a heart to deceive me. Or did you say that this was a conspiracy designed by you to frame others?" Jiang Yuyan kowtowed heavily and said, "Your Highness, my daughter was suddenly attacked, causing her to panic and lose her composure. In addition, His Highness the 9th Prince voluntarily admitted that he subconsciously thought it was my daughter's mistake, which is why I wrongly accused Her Highness the 9th Prince. Please forgive me, Your Highness." "Well, you're already a victim, get up." Zhao Su waved his hand. He was already momentarily angry, but after saying that, he regretted it. After all, the other party was almost tainted, and it was his foolish son who took the initiative to apologize for it. It was only natural that he did not recognize it for a while. Thinking of this, Zhao Su looked at Zhao Xuan again and asked suspiciously, "Since it wasn't you who did it, why admit it? But someone is threatening you." Zhao Xuan said with 3 parts of helplessness and 3 parts of sorrow and anger, why did my son do this? Father should have a clear understanding in his heart. My son did not originally intend to hold the position of crown prince, but sometimes he is innocent and harbors guilt. Born in the royal family, I cannot help it. If I do not admit that I did this, I am afraid the consequences will be unimaginable. Why don't you tell your father who is threatening you and let him make the decision for you? Since I am fortunate enough to bear the favor of my father, I will naturally be envied by others. Even if it weren't for today's incident, I don't know that the child would die suddenly that day. In that case, why not take this opportunity, as they wish, to lose the opportunity to inherit the throne and still save my life? Watching Zhao Xu's helpless son blush with tears as he confides in himself, he feels both heartbroken and angry. He couldn't believe that his sons would dare to do such a thing in order to compete for the throne. I'm not dead yet. They dare to frame their own brothers. Okay, he's really my good son. Even I feel inferior to this method. Zhao Xu assured Zhao Xuan, Xuaner, don't worry, tell me, no matter who he is, I promise you that he will be severely punished and not loaned. Upon hearing these familiar words, Jiang Yuyan beside her secretly muttered to herself, you just said the same to me, you didn't even change your words. Zhao Xuan shook his head and said, this is the case. I don't want my father to lose another son. Whoever it is, it will make my father sad and uncomfortable. Since my child is already like this, why don't we just push the boat and let my child bear everything? Anyway, my child has no intention of the throne. I hope my father can succeed. Zhao Xu looked at his son in front of him, both relieved and heartbroken, relieved that he finally had a filial son who was willing to bear the burden for his brother. He also felt heartbroken that his other sons, in order to compete for the throne, were not recognized by his 6 relatives. Zhao Xu sat helplessly in the chair. Zhao Xuan insisted on not saying anything, and he didn't want to force or subconsciously didn't want to expose it. After all, it was his own flesh and blood, and the palms and backs of his hands were all flesh. In the end, one of his 2 sons would have to die, and it was very likely that the 9th son would have to die. The best way would be to let Zhao Xuan take the blame and stay away from this fight, but to pity his 9th son. Zhao Xu had also considered whether to appoint Zhao Xuan as the crown prince, but the establishment of the crown prince is the foundation of a country. If he acted alone, the civil and military officials of the Manchu dynasty would not agree. After all, the mother clans of other princes are not fuel-efficient lamps. Some grandfathers hold important positions, and some uncles hold heavy weapons. Even the emperor cannot do everything as he pleases. The only thing I can do is to protect this 9th son and let him live this life safely. After Zhao Xu made up his mind, he looked at Jiang Yuyan kneeling on the ground and listening to everything. His eyes flickered with murderous intent. If this woman were to speak out, Zhao Xian's blame would be in vain. Father. Zhao Xuan, who was standing beside him, saw the murderous intent in the eyes of his father. He quickly spoke up, so far, the only victim of this matter is Miss Jiang Yuyan. I dare to ask my father to give her to my son. This way, I will also have an explanation for Miss Jiang. I promise not to let her reveal the truth. Zhao Xu already harbored guilt. How could he refuse to agree to such a small matter? Moreover, Jiang Yuyan was the victim, and although he could freely control her life and death, his conscience still felt a bit guilty. Simultaneously thinking of, it's better for Xuaner to think about everything for the sake of his father. Upon hearing these words, Jiang Yuyan couldn't help but look at Zhao Xuan. With her intelligence, she had already heard that Song Zhizong had a murderous heart. Just as she was in despair, Zhao Xian's words saved her own little life. After some contemplation, Emperor Zhizong of Song issued a decree of the Tao, pass on my decree. The 9th Prince Zhao Xuan and the Zayuna Jiang Yuyan are in love for a lifetime, and I will punish him by banning him for 3 months as punishment, considering his youth and ignorance. The two of them are in agreement, and I do not want to beat the mandarin duck with a stick. Therefore, I have bestowed him as a concubine, and in addition, I have bestowed upon the 9th Prince Zhao Xuan the title of Prince Cheng. After tying his hair, he can proceed to the fiefdom without any mistakes. Thank you, father. I will obey your orders. Zhao Xuan quickly knelt down on the ground to express gratitude, while Zhao Su personally helped him up and said in a warm voice. Xianer, don't blame your father for letting you leave the capital. It's really to protect you, so this is the last resort. If there is a chance in the future, I will definitely transfer you back to the palace. Zhao Xuan quickly said, it's not too late for me to be grateful. How could I blame my father? I originally only wanted to be an idle prince, but if I see my father again in the future, I can't help feeling sad and sad. If you have this heart, my father will be satisfied. Don't worry, when the crown prince is established, we father and son will enjoy the happiness of our family. Stepping out of the imperial study, Zhao Xuan took Jiang Yuyan back to his own dormitory. Along the way, there was no hint of a gloomy expression on Zhao Xuan's face as if forced to leave the capital, but rather a relaxed and relieved expression. People who received the news all exclaimed that Zhao Su was really favored. He did such a wrong thing and was only banned for 3 months. Not only was he granted the title of prince, but even the ladies were rewarded to him. The prince and his concubines were secretly grateful that this beloved prince had finally been driven out of the capital and completely lost his threat. And the thoughts of everyone in the palace were all within Zhao Xuan's expectations, all within his plan. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Langqing Qie Yi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Langqing Qie Yi. Although Zhao Xuan's future is limitless after obtaining the system, in the eyes of others, he is still the weak, helpless, and pitiful little prince with only a few literary talents. If he and Chen Guifei were tough, he might have been assassinated by them before he could grow up. He can only protect himself by deliberately showing weakness, making everyone think that he is like a little white rabbit with no threat and no possibility of becoming their competitor. No one will deliberately target a prince who is not threatening and deeply loved by his father. They will only try to win over him and make him their support. Being far away from the capital was also planned by Zhao Xuan early on. In the capital, there are hidden tigers and dragons, and no one knows how many forces there are in the city. Just belonging to the imperial court, there are east and west second factories, 6 gates, Shenhou Mansion, and Hulong Mountain Villa. And the power of the martial arts world, with 6.5 halls and the Golden Wind and Fine Rain Tower each occupying half of the capital, comes from the martial arts world. Because it is a world of comprehensive martial arts, the power of the court is also more complex. In the court, the Grand Tutor Kai Jing, the Prime Minister Fu Zongxu, and the Grand Tutor Zhuge Jinghua ignored any old fox who was not deeply scheming. To develop power under their noses without being discovered is just a pipe dream. By the way, although Zhu Wuwu in this world is also a royal family, he was born to the previous emperor's drunkenness and promiscuity, as well as palace maids, so he took his mother's surname Zhu. Compared to the capital city, the martial arts world is much more chaotic. Just as Zhao Xuan knows, there are many disciples such as the Power Gang, Money Gang, Sun and Moon Divine Sect, ambitious martial arts masters, and countless conspirators hidden deep in the martial arts world. And no one knows what changes will happen between them in this world. However, for Zhao Xuan, the more chaotic the better. Without stirring up this pool of water, how can he win in chaos and fish in troubled waters? And as soon as he thought about what he had drawn, Zhao Xuan even began to eagerly want to leave the capital. For him, this world was his stage, and entering it was like a dragon returning to the sea and an eagle flying into the sky. However, the first thing he needs to deal with is still the woman Jiang Yuyan. The reason why he saved her life is not only because it was the first time he saw a character from a previous life, but also because he was interested in her abilities. If Jiang Yuyan could be used for her own benefit, with her abilities, she would definitely become her right-hand man. After all, she is now alone and has no subordinates except for Qin Chongying and Qin Xuanli. And they have no strength to bind their hands, apart from loyalty, they can't help at all. As soon as I returned to the dormitory, I saw Qin Chongying and his companions running over anxiously, wanting to inquire about what had happened. And when they saw Jiang Yuyan behind Zhao Xuan, they both felt puzzled and didn't know who she was. Is it difficult to be a maid bestowed by the emperor on his highness? Zhao Xuan then explained, this is Miss Jiang Yuyan. Starting today, she will be the concubine of this palace. Upon hearing this, the two of them quickly knelt down and bowed. From now on, they would become their own masters. His Highness Jiao is generous and does not pay attention to vulgar etiquette in his daily life. The new woman does not know what kind of temperament she is. If she is not easy to get along with, the days ahead will be difficult. At this moment, Jiang Yuyan hurriedly helped the two of them up, appearing submissive, just like most people who have not yet reacted after experiencing this incident, pitiful. However, Zhao Xuan briefly explained what had just happened and told the two of them that he would be banned for 3 months. After 3 months, he would go to the fiefdom and did not mention his guilt, so they were not allowed to ask again. Qin Chongying and Zhao Xuan are inseparable every day. Of course, he knows that Zhao Xuan has never done this before, but since Zhao Xuan has already spoken, he and his wife are full of doubts and dare not ask. They just think that Chen Guifei came uninvited before, and their hearts are clear. While fighting for the injustice of her master in her heart, she was also full of sympathy for Jiang Yuyan, pitying her experience, and lamenting that she had followed the 9th prince. With his highness's temperament, she would not treat her unfairly. Finally, it was a blessing in disguise. Zhao Xuan called Jiang Yuyan into the room and asked Qin Chongying and the other two to guard the door, not allowing anyone to come in. They thought Zhao Xuan was of a youthful nature. Seeing such a beautiful woman, they couldn't help but dare not disturb his pleasure. Meanwhile, Jiang Yuyan lowered her head and blushed, only obediently entering the room. A look of Renjun picking. Zhao Xuan's palace is not large in the palace, but it is also not small. Although the display and decoration inside do not showcase luxury, it is also very elegant. The carefully carved blue gauze cabinet is also placed next to it, and the table made of orchids and rosewood is dignified and elegant. The room is lit with incense burners, and through the screen, the smoke is emitting, which makes people's tense mood unable to help but ease. Zhao Xuan gestured for Jiang Yuyan to sit on the chair, poured her a cup of tea, and said never to offend a woman, because you don't know what she will do for revenge. Watching the blackened and air-banged woman in front of her, she would have killed everyone in all directions. If it weren't for her love for Hua Wuqi, and even for her ascension to the throne, Zhao Xuan didn't know if the plot had changed, so he spoke up to explore, Miss Jiang, just to save your life, I came up with this plan. I don't know if there are any relatives in your family. If you don't want to marry Zhao Xuan, I will send someone to escort you away after you leave the capital, she said. Upon hearing these words, Jiang Yuyan quickly knelt down and said, to be honest, Yuyan is just an illegitimate daughter. My father is the son-in-law of Lu Shi, the deputy governor of the East Factory. Jiang Beihe, known as the great hero of Jiangnan in the martial arts world, lived a miserable life in the Jiang mansion. Every day, Yuyan was bullied by the Jiang Lu family. Due to Lu Shi's power, my father ignored Yuyan. Yuyan dared not bully her, and even her deceased mother's spirit was shattered. As she spoke of her sadness, Jiang Yuyan's eyes turned red, sobbing incessantly, tears as big as beans slid down from before my eyes. Please do not abandon Yuyan, Your Highness. If Your Highness does not want Yuyan, it would be better for Yuyan to die. Zhao Xuan saw this and quickly helped the other person up. If you're willing to stay, how could I drive you away? He comforted him again, speaking of which, we can also be considered to be on the same boat. My birth mother passed away early and lived like walking on thin ice in the palace. Even the capital city dared not stay, and we truly became a perfect match. Jiang Yuyan leaned in Zhao Xuan's arms, comforting him not to give up on himself. Who can say for sure about the future? Zhao Xuan wants to portray the image of a cautious, ambitious, and kind-hearted Prince Jiang Yuyan plays a weak woman who has lived a difficult and lonely life since childhood. The two of them had only known each other for a moment, and at this moment, they looked as if they were a romantic couple. Only they knew the true feelings behind them. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Great increase in skill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Great increase in skill. Just as Zhao Xuan and Jiang Yuyan were showcasing their acting skills, there was also a group of people celebrating the smooth progress of the plan. As soon as the fourth Prince Zhao Yan returned to his palace, he breathed a sigh of relief and was fortunate enough to. It seems that Consort Chen's handling of affairs is quite reliable. She was able to make old Jiao confess voluntarily. It seems that my silver is not in vain. However, when Zhao Yan thought about the price he had paid, he felt a pang of heartache. If he had known the punishment was so light, he would have wanted to admit his guilt. However, just thinking about it, this is a crucial period for the establishment of the crown prince. If the father and emperor were to know of their mistakes and lose their eligibility to compete for the crown prince's position, it would be impossible to buy them back for millions of taels. As soon as he thought of Zhao Xuan, the fourth prince envied him and thought, I didn't expect father to punish this guy so lightly, and he even earned a beautiful woman for nothing. If father had half of his love for him, the position of crown prince would not have been easily captured. As soon as he thought of Jiang Yuyan's charming appearance, his heart not only became hot, but also thought that if he became the emperor in the future and gave a command, Zhao Xuan would have to obediently send the beautiful woman up if he wanted to survive. There is also Lady Chen Guifei, who dares to demand 1 million taels from him, as well as a life-saving treasure like Tianxiang Duku. I don't know where she came from, but I know I have this in my hand. You should know, I also got it by chance. However, at the thought of her seductive figure, the fourth prince couldn't help but have a lustful expression in his eyes. When you become emperor and eat my food, I want you to spit it all out. It's okay if you don't come out yet, will you pay off your debts? But I don't have much money now. Those courtiers are getting more and more diligent when collecting money, and whenever they are asked to do things, they tend to push things around. A bunch of bastards. Cure and scold, but you still have to give the money that should be given. Otherwise, if someone gives you but doesn't, they will be pushed towards the camp of other princes. At the thought of this, the fourth prince not only became distressed, but also murmured. It seems that the matter of the blissful tower needs to be handled by them as soon as possible. Madam, aren't we offending both the fourth prince and the ninth prince by doing this? Is it worth it just for some money and this fragrant cardamom? In the magnificent Changchun Palace, Chen Guifei's personal maid asked with a puzzled expression. In her opinion, her own empress has already formed an alliance with the fourth prince and received so many benefits from him. How can both sides cooperate afterwards? Chen Guifei lay leisurely in bed, without taking the words of the maid to heart, and casually said, who said this palace wants to collaborate with that foolish fourth prince? Otherwise, I wouldn't bother to talk to him because of that fragrant cardamom. Ah! If the ninth prince offends, he will offend, but the fourth prince is a popular candidate for the crown prince's position. Even if we don't form an alliance with him, there's no need to offend him, right? The little maid still doesn't understand. What if I offend you? This person is just a rascal. Originally, he was thinking about his grandfather's influence and wanted to cooperate with him, but he couldn't even control his own lower body. He's greedy and lascivious, so useless. If I offend you, it's not a big deal. With just his brain, just a few words can fool him. He doesn't even know his own surname, and the heavenly fragrance cardamom is something we must get in a deal with that divine marquis. Chen Guifei raised her jade hand and scrutinized the fragrant cardamom in her hand. That marquis is not as devoted and dedicated as he appears to be, serving the country and the people. He is a loyal minister and righteous person. If we don't have a means to restrain him, I won't be at ease. After finishing speaking, he gently lifted the little maid's jaw and looked at her with beautiful eyes, making her blush. Only then did he put down his hand in satisfaction. And you little girl was wrong. The only thing that made me regret this time was offending the 9th prince. The 9th prince. What can't he offend? He's going to be demoted from the capital. What's so scary? And I heard he's quite happy and excited to go to fiefdom. What's there to be afraid of offending him like this? Chen Guifei, no longer as carefree as before, frowned with a good-looking expression. I can't say what's scary about him, but my intuition tells me that he's not as simple as he appears. Upon hearing this, the little maid's expression became serious and she said, Madam, since you think he has a problem, we have offended him again. Otherwise. The remaining words were not spoken, but the meaning was very clear and Chen Guifei shook her head and said. Forget it, it's also possible that I felt wrong. At least he's a prince, so acting recklessly won't benefit us either. Moreover, if the 4 famous detectives come to investigate and expose our identities, then stealing a chicken won't erode our rice. The little maid heard this and felt that it's not worth losing. It's better for the empress to think carefully. If he's lucky, let him go. Chen Guifei sighed and stood up, looking particularly serious at the maid beside her. We are in the palace, so we must be extra careful in our actions. The Holy Gate has put in so much effort to allow us to infiltrate the palace. We must not expose it until the Holy Gate's plan is completed. Yes, Empress. After calming Jiang Yuyan, Zhao Xuan used the excuse that he was a bit tired and wanted to take a break. However, Jiang Yuyan wisely stepped down and said Yuyan happened to go and make a bowl of osmanthus candy taro for His Highness. This is a Jiangnan snack. Taro is fragrant, sweet, soft, smooth, and refreshing. When His Highness wakes up, it will help him relieve heat and fatigue. Oh, okay, it's just hard work for Yuyan. Yuyan knows nothing and can't help His Highness. She can only do some small things. His Highness doesn't mind, so Yuyan is satisfied. Zhao Xuan listened and said with a smile, Yuyan not only benefits the quality of orchids, but also has a clever and skillful heart. I can't love her in time, how could I dislike her? The two of them flirted and flirted for a while before Jiang Yuyan left. After she left, Zhao Xuan's expression no longer showed the same smile as before, and his gaze became deep. Although the love between children and daughters was intoxicating, he was still uncertain and focused on his career. The most important thing now was to improve his martial arts skills and master the power of self-protection. Then Zhao Xuan sat cross-legged on the bed and took out 2 pills, swallowing them in one gulp. I saw 2 powerful forces, one yin and one yang, in his body, cold and hot. In the first second, he seemed to be naked, in the midst of ice and snow, shivering with cold. In the next second, it felt like being in a furnace again, with a body full of unbearable heat, like a fully cooked shrimp. Zhao Xuan quickly activated the Baqin divine skill, quickly digesting the medicinal power in his body. With the movement of his mind, Zhao Xuan no longer felt hot and cold, but instead felt a warm current flowing throughout his body, feeling as comfortable as soaking in a hot spring, and feeling the majestic growth of his internal power, as if deep in the clouds. Quickly, with the help of powerful medicine, Zhao Xuan's Baqin divine skill advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching the 9th level. A dragon-shaped true qi wrapped around Zhao Xuan's body, with a terrifying dragon head. Even layers of towering dragon scales could be seen on the dragon's body, and at the same time, the pure yang energy in Zhao Xuan's body erupted with it. In addition to the domineering and unparalleled absolute dragon aura, there is also a pure yang true qi floating in his body. With the help of the elixir, Zhao Xuan's pure yang body has also become great. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Honest Meeting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Honest Meeting. Feeling the strong pleasure brought by the completion of the divine skill, Zhao Xuan couldn't help but want to let out a loud scream, but still suppressed the excitement in his heart and slowly regained his luck. After all, we cannot let others discover that we possess exceptional skills. If we can't even speak clearly, we will lose all our previous efforts. But Zhao Xuan still couldn't resist the palpitations in his heart and wanted to try his current skills. Then he suddenly reached out his hand and saw a crimson golden dragon roaring out, while the tea cup on the table nearby followed the dragon's body and flew into Zhao Xuan's hand. Zhao Xuan looked at the cup in his hand with satisfaction and whispered to himself. The 120-year skill brought by the infinite immortal pill has completely transformed me, and I don't know how my martial arts are in the martial arts world now. The elixir Zhao Xuan just took was the infinite immortal pill that was drawn from a lottery. It comes from divine heroes. One pill can increase one's martial arts power by a factor of 1, making it a treasure in the martial arts world. Taking 2 pills at once, Zhao Xuan became a top-notch expert in the martial arts world. Its profound internal power is rare in the world. And just now he used qi to control things, using the dragon-catching technique that comes with the martial arts in Ba Qin Shengong and Ba Qin Jiulongpo. Zhao Xuan's current skill is the same as Zhang Wuji's The 9 Yang Manual. All the martial arts in the world are available. In a short time, he learned all the moves in Overloading Qin and 9 Dragons. Zhao Xuan now has no flaws except for his lack of experience against enemies. Calculating the time, it was time to go out, so Zhao Xuan pretended to have just woken up, yawned, and walked out of the dormitory with his eyes blurred. Watching Zhao Xuan come out, Jiang Yuyan immediately handed over a hot towel and asked Zhao Xuan to wipe his face, afraid that he would just wake up thirsty. She then handed over a cup of tea and said with concern. "Your Highness, how was your rest just now? Do you want to sleep a little longer?" Zhao Xuan knew at a glance that Jiang Yuyan had been waiting outside while he pretended to be asleep, waiting for him to wake up. Moreover, there was a bowl of taro balls on the table that was full of appearances. Born in the palace, Zhao Xuan, who was knowledgeable, knew that he had put a lot of effort into it. Chen Chongying and Chen Xuanli, who were the only 2 in the entire palace to serve, usually went to clean the house while sleeping and reading. I empathized with the hard work of the 2 of them, always doing small things on my own. Seeing Jiang Yuyan treat me so attentively, like a wife treating her husband, Zhao Xuan, who had never been treated like this before, also had a strange feeling at this moment. Looking at her cautious appearance, Zhao Xuan said with rare sincerity, "There's no need to be like this in the future. I've never paid attention to these things. I have hands and feet, and these things are not impossible to do. It's also because I don't respect you. Follow me and don't even have a maid. Don't worry, when we go to the fiefdom in 3 months, I promise you that I will double the compensation I owe you." After hearing this, Jiang Yuyan was moved and said, "If it weren't for your highness, Yuyan would have died in the underworld now. Even if it weren't for your highness, it would be appropriate to be a bull and a horse for your highness. How could you still care about these things? As long as your highness doesn't abandon Yuyan, Yuyan will be satisfied." I don't know why, Zhao Xuan, who was originally just acting on the spot, couldn't connect her with the image of the ruthless and unrecognizable empress in his impression as he looked at Jiang Yuyan, who was naturally beautiful and charming. When Jiang Yuyan said these words, she actually had a hint of sincerity. Zhao Xuan was already very handsome, and wearing women's clothing, she might not even be as beautiful as Jiang Yuyan. His words and actions are worthy of being a humble gentleman, gentle as jade. Of course, the most important thing is that the other person just saved her life, and unlike other men, she is full of respect. Jiang Yuyan relied on her mother since childhood and made a living by singing. After her mother passed away, she had hoped to have a good life after defecting to her biological father Jiang Biehe. After going through countless hardships, she was even deceived into going to the brothel, almost innocent. If it weren't for encountering a kind-hearted young master who was blind and saved, the consequences would be unimaginable. Unexpectedly, after waiting for her in the Jiang mansion, she lived a life that was not even as good as a slave or maid. She was bullied by the Jianglu family every day and even gave herself an insulting name of little dog. However, her father, whom she had always fantasized and hoped for, ignored this. Even so, she still had an intuition that Jiang Biehe was her reliance until the other party became obsessed with practicing martial arts. In order to protect themselves, they even transmitted a body full of poisonous substances into their own body. After being lucky enough to regain a small life, Jiang Yuyan understood that besides herself, no one could rely on her. Lu Shi, in order to compete with Chao Jingchun for the position of the head of the East Factory, wanted to offer a beautiful woman to Emperor Zhezong of Song. Originally, Jiang Yufeng wanted to be sent to the palace, but unexpectedly, the other party ran away from home. There was no other way, so Jiang Yuyan was sent in. Originally, Jiang Yuyan wanted to use her beauty to lure the emperor and climb up step by step, in order to gain power and seek revenge against the Jiang mansion. But unexpectedly, by chance, it became Zhao Xian's side room. After feeling Zhao Xian's meticulous care for him, Jiang Yuyan felt that marrying him might be because even the heavens couldn't bear the hardships she had experienced. That's why she gave herself such a perfect husband. The most difficult thing to accept the favor of a beautiful woman is that even if Zhao Xian has a deep mind, he is still in the most emotional teenage period of his life. Moreover, with his cunning, he can naturally hear whether the other person is telling the truth or lies. That's why Zhao Xian doesn't want to act anymore. Living with a mask for a long time is really tiring, and lies can deceive you for a while, but not for a lifetime. Zhao Xian is also afraid that the other party may feel deceived and start to blacken out after knowing their true face in the future. Based on the other party's blackened behavior, Zhao Xian may not be able to play with her. With Zhao Xian's current skills, even the slightest disturbance within a radius of 10 miles cannot be concealed from him. After sensing that there were no other people around besides Chen Chongying and Chen Xuanli outside, Zhao Xian pulled Jiang Yuyan into the bedroom and said seriously. Yuyan, I don't want to hide it from you. Actually, we know different things, you see. After speaking, as Zhao Xian raised his right hand, a vast internal force surged out. Under the influence of his martial arts, everything in the bedroom floated up, and as soon as he put down his hand, all the floating objects in the air returned to their original positions. Everything that had just happened was like an illusion. Jiang Yuyan didn't expect that Zhao Xian, the rumored ninth prince who had no other skills besides reading poetry and books, would be an unparalleled expert. During her time living in the Jiang mansion, Jiang Yuyan's knowledge has increased significantly. Apart from that, her father Jiang Biehe is known as the unparalleled benevolent and righteous hero of Jiangnan, and can also be considered a first-class expert in the martial arts world. But if we fight Zhao Xian, we probably won't even be able to move 3 moves. Ice and Snow-wise Jiang Yuyan knew that Zhao Xian could practice such martial arts without showing any trace in the palace. His plan was definitely not like that of an idle prince. A person with such cunning must have a matching wild hope. Zhao Xian looked at Jiang Yuyan and wondered if she would change her mind after she learned that she had hidden her martial arts. Zhao Xian, who was always calm, and Mount Taishan collapsed without changing his face, was actually worried at this time. I couldn't help but say, this is the real me, not the humble gentleman you imagined, but a scheming and ambitious person. Are you very disappointed? After all, it was Zhao Xian's first time opening up to a woman, and he didn't want his first time to end in a disastrous defeat. Fortunately, Jiang Yuyan did not panic, but instead happily said, Your Highness is willing to tell Yuyan such a secret. Yuyan will only be happy. Your Highness treats me sincerely and has never concealed it. How could she be disappointed? Jiang Yuyan looked into Zhao Xian's eyes and said affectionately, No matter what kind of person your highness is, whether he is gentle and elegant or ambitious, Yuyan likes it. If your highness is idle and wild, Yuyan accompanies his highness in poetry and painting. If your highness wants to show his ambitions, Yuyan is willing to live and die together. Upon hearing these words, Zhao Xuan tightly held Jiang Yuyan in his arms and solemnly swore, "Life and death are vast, speak with your son. Hold your son's hand and grow old together with him." Jiang Yuyan also responded softly, "You are like a rock, and I am like a reed. The reed is as resilient as silk, and the rock has no transfer." Two people look at each other and smile. Unconsciously, the sky was already dark, and a bright moon quietly hung in the sky. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Character Inheritance Card. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Character Inheritance Card. The hibiscus tent warms the spring night, and from then on, the king will not go to court early. Zhao Xuan lay in bed, propped up and doted on the sleeping jade beside her. Her rosy cheeks highlighted her exquisite appearance, and a sweet smile hung on the corner of her mouth, like a sleeping beauty. However, for some reason, her vermilion lips were slightly swollen and red. After Jiang Yuyan woke up, the two of them got tired of it for a while. Zhao Xuan even personally helped her comb her hair and eyebrow. Jiang Yuyan looked at the hairstyle she had designed herself from the bronze mirror, which, although unique, looked even more charming. She couldn't help but ask, "Husband, what kind of hairstyle is this?" After hearing this, Zhao Xuan smiled proudly, "I personally designed it for you, I call it an air bangs." What a strange name, but it sounds quite nice. After 3 days of hard work, the two finally came out. Chen Chongying and Chen Xuanli had already prepared their lunch and were waiting for them to eat. After finishing his meal, Zhao Xuan called Chen Chongying and Chen Xuanli into the room and looked at the two of them who had been with him from childhood to adulthood and were loyal to him. Zhao Xuan looked at them with a soft gaze and spoke. "Chongying and Xuanli, you have been with me since I was 5 years old. How is our relationship? I don't need to say much. Now I'm giving you a chance to become a martial arts master, but there may be danger. Would you be willing to do so?" Upon hearing this, the two of them knelt down with a thud and said, "For so many years, Your Highness has been kind to the servants, and I have always remembered them in my heart. Back then, if Your Highness had not pleaded for us, we would have died long ago. I will be Your Highness's people for my whole life. Whatever Your Highness asks us to do, we will do it without hesitation. Even if you let us die, we are willing to do it. Hateful servant, it's useless. I can't help Your Highness. I can only watch Your Highness be bullied. If we have the opportunity to learn martial arts, we can also share Your Highness's worries. Please help Your Highness." After speaking, the two of them knelt on the ground and began to kowtow. Zhao Xuan quickly helped them up and said, "Get up quickly, don't I know your loyalty? Don't worry, with Your Highness here, you won't have any trouble." Zhao Xuan felt a lot in his heart. Even though he was the most destitute among the princes and couldn't compare to their servants like clouds, having these two people sincerely serving him didn't make him feel shabby. No matter what happens next, don't be surprised, don't move, remember. The two of them followed Zhao Xuan's words obediently. For them, even the imperial edict was not as good as Prince Zhou's words. Even if Zhao Xuan stabbed them with a sword the next second, they wouldn't shake a single bit, only worried about splashing blood on Prince and contaminating him. Then, in their surprised gazes, 2 purple rays of light flew towards them from Zhao Xuan's hand, and then they felt dizzy and suddenly remembered memories that did not belong to them. As the purple light gradually dissipated, Chen Chongying and Chen Xuanli woke up from a dream and immediately became ecstatic, bowing to Zhao Xuan as if seeing a heavenly god. "Thank you, Your Highness, for your grace." Zhao Xuan waved his hand and said, "All right, you two can show each other your current martial arts skills." Yes, Chen Chongying took the lead in making a move. He was like a ghost, with a shapely and unpredictable body movements. He quickly approached Chen Xuanli and then pointed towards him, shooting an invisible finger force towards him. Chen Xuanli remained calm and composed in the face of this scene. Compared to Chen Chongying, his body movements were much slower, but his movements were even more eerie. As his true qi was released, a cloud of black energy gathered around him. Chen Chongying's finger force was engulfed by the black energy like a mud cow falling into the sea. Then, a unique finger force reflected towards Chen Chongying. If people in the martial arts world were to see such a strange situation, they would definitely mistake it for the famous skill of the Gu Su Murong family, Dozhuan Xingshi, but cannot understand what kind of miraculous skill this strange true qi is. Faced with this strange method, Chen Chongying was not at all afraid. Even if you could imitate his martial arts, what would happen? No matter how powerful his martial arts were, it was useless if he couldn't hit anyone. He lightly tapped his toes and disappeared from front of Xuanli in an instant. Then, he suddenly appeared behind him and pointed, flying 3,000 feet directly towards Xuanli's back. Xuanli seemed to have a pair of back eyes, and without turning around, he knew how Chen Chongying was attacking him. His hands were clawed, accompanied by a rolling black aura, like ghost claws from hell, and he grabbed Chen Chongying with his back hand. Even more terrifying was that as Xuanli turned around, Chen Chongying was surprised to see his face. With a loss of focus, her speed couldn't help but slow down. The face turned around looks exactly like Chen Chongying. And this slow motion naturally revealed a loophole. While Chen Chongying was in a daze, Chen Xuanli grabbed his wrist with a claw. At this moment, his most powerful speed was limited, like a tiger with teeth pulled out. In this predicament, Chen Chongying never expected to give up so quickly. After all, His Highness was still watching from the side, and the two of them had been fighting openly and secretly in order to compete for the position of Zhao Xuan's top subordinate. They were afraid that Zhao Xuan would be disappointed in him. Chen Chongying also showed his strength, disregarding his caught right hand, raised his left hand, and directly attacked Chen Xuanli's face, even hitting himself. At this moment, one hand was directly inserted into it, and with a tremendous palm force, the two involuntarily parted ways. The person's attack seemed fierce, but it was all a clever force that separated the two without causing any damage. Only Zhao Xuan could have such skill. Alright, stop it. But when Zhao Xuan saw the two of them fighting again, it was inevitable that they would be injured, so he spoke up and called for a stop. To prevent them from losing control, he took action to separate them. Although the two of them didn't know when Zhao Xuan had become so skilled in martial arts, the thought of the opponent's divine and demonic methods just now made them feel that nothing strange happened to him. Although Chen Chongying was not convinced and wanted to fight Chen Xuanli again to prove himself, Zhao Xuan spoke up and had to give up. And he also felt in his heart that the other party's martial arts cult could change their appearance. Chen Xuanli also had lingering fear for Chen Chongying's speed. If it weren't for his own unique moves, the outcome would have been unknown. After the two finished fighting, they both secretly admired each other's martial arts and made up their minds to practice well and surpass each other. Zhao Xuan was very satisfied with their performance just now. Their current martial arts skills are not inferior to those of famous experts in the martial arts world, and it is not in vain that he used the precious character inheritance card. For them the character inheritance card was also drawn by Zhao Xuan before, which can be used for himself or others. Each person can only use one card, and after using it, they can obtain the corresponding character's martial arts and cultivation. However, it does not immediately become a top-notch expert. In addition to the one obtained at the beginning, the rest also need to merge slowly. The speed of integration depends on the degree of adaptation with the inheritor. Zhao Xuan used 2 character inheritance cards for them, which perfectly matched their needs. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Farewell to Beijing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Farewell to Beijing. Coincidentally, the characters they inherited happen to have the same name as them. Character inheritance card, Chen Chongying. Originating from the world of Shaka Fengyun Zhuan, skilled in martial arts such as, the Lost Flower Treasure, and, the Flying Waterfall Chain Finger, character inheritance card, Xuanli Gong. Originating from the world of Shaka Fengyun Zhuan, skilled in martial arts such as Wuxian Chaos Skill and Chaos Yanluo Claw. Both of these people come from the world of chivalrous legends and are eunuchs. Chen Chongying's Fragmented Flower Handbook is derived from the Sunflower Classic and has also surpassed the world in speed, and Xuanli Gong's Wuxian Chaos Gong is equivalent to the addition of Xiao Wuxian Gong to Yi Rong, not only able to transform into the appearance of others through Yi Rong, but also able to imitate martial arts. Due to the extremely high degree of overlap with the two fused most of them at the beginning, and the rest could be fully digested in not much time. Now Chen Chongying and Chen Xuanli have ascended to the sky step by step. Zhao Xuan finally has a capable assistant, and there is no need to do everything personally in the future. Moreover, in Zhao Xuan's plan, Chen Xuanli's disguise technique has greatly helped him. Chen Xuanli's martial arts wisdom demonstrated in the competition was even more satisfying to Zhao Xuan. As soon as he got started, he could think of using the disguise technique to expose his opponent's weaknesses in battle, which was truly rare. Compared to Chen Xuanli, although Chen Chongying lost in the martial arts competition, he lost due to lack of experience. If he had more experience in the future, with his terrifying lightness skills, even if Chen Xuanli could win, it would still be a narrow victory. Moreover, his Fragmented Flower Handbook originates from Sunflower Classic. If he had the opportunity to obtain Sunflower Classic or Anti-Evil Sword Manual in the future, even if he exceeded the original inheritors, there is a high possibility. Just the Anti-Evil Sword Manual. If the plot of the Laughing and Proud Jianghu has not yet developed into the later stage, Zhao Xuan is confident in getting him. Even if you miss it, you can still make a deal with Lin Pingji to exchange for a sword score. Jiang Yuyan on the side was extremely shocked when she saw it. She didn't expect Zhao Xuan to have such means, but the more powerful Zhao Xuan was, the happier she became. She was now Zhao Xuan's only woman and knew the other person's secret. Listen up, you two. Before leaving the capital, no one should discover that you know martial arts. The two of them have been living in the palace for many years and have long mastered the law of survival. They know that if someone discovers them practicing martial arts privately, they will all be executed. In the future, Zhao Xuan will not be able to save himself and will also be implicated in him. Quickly spoke up and said yes. In the following period, Zhao Xuan performed as usual, reading and writing during the day, while Jiang Yuyan added fragrance to her red sleeves on the side. At night, she practiced martial arts in her dormitory, and Chen Chongying and her companions did not show any flaws. They were still low-status eunuchs in the palace, even if they were bullied or their skills were not exposed. During this period, Zhao Xuan successfully achieved the ability to completely conceal his martial arts skills, appearing as if he didn't know how to do it. If he didn't take the initiative, no one would notice. He also created a palm technique called Pure Yang Palm, which he learned from Jiang Yuyan about what happened in the martial arts world before she entered the palace, and formulated a plan for the next step. Time passed quickly, and soon Zhao Xuan's foot ban came to an end, which also meant it was time for him to leave the capital. Before he left the palace, Emperor Zhezong of Song called him to his side and accompanied him through lunch. Looking at his son who was about to leave home, Zhao Su felt helpless even though he was reluctant to leave. Xianer, after leaving the palace, you should protect yourself well. When all the dust settles, father will definitely call you back. Before that, I have wronged you. There's nothing wrong with children being able to play in the mountains and rivers outside. It's just a chance to see the beautiful scenery of my Song dynasty. I'll draw them all and show them to my father when I come back. Ha ha ha, okay, then I'll wait to see your painting. The carriage to pick up Zhao Xuan had already been prepared. Not only that, but he was also afraid of any accidents on the way. Emperor Zhezong of Song specifically ordered the Hulong Mountain Villa, Shenhe Mansion, and Dongchang to send experts to escort Zhao Xuan to the fiefdom. At this time, they were now waiting for Zhao Xuan's arrival by the carriage. At this moment, a group of carriages stopped at the towering and strict palace gate. Apart from the ceremonial guards holding high ceremonial guards, there was also a group of fully armed cavalry beside the carriage. Among the cavalry, there were two people dressed in inappropriate clothes. One of them was dressed in tattered clothes, tattered shoes and clothes, with a wine gourd pinned to his waist and a messy beard on his chin. The man, who looked like an alcoholic, took a sip of wine and casually complained to a handsome man next to him with a uniquely shaped sword, saying, "Why haven't you waited so long? I really don't know why you sent me to escort this newly minted Prince Cheng, bad luck." Before the other party could answer, he spoke again. "I said, Old Duan, why did your dragon protection villa send you here? However, it's also true. If you send the wooden piece, Gue Haidao, there won't be anyone talking along the way, and you won't suffocate." The other party finally spoke up. "Brother Chui, please be calm and don't be impatient. I heard that this Prince Cheng is very popular with His Majesty. I think he stayed for a while longer, but judging by the weather, he should be coming out soon." The man pursed his lips and said, "I don't know what kind of person the other person is. Those princes are harder to serve one by one. I heard that he is still a promiscuous person, and I don't know what kind of tricks will come up along the way. These two people are from the four great spies of heaven and earth Xianhuang in Hulong Mountain Villa, with the number 1 in the sky. Duan Tianya and Zhuaming, who come from the Divine Marquis' mansion and rank 3rd among the 4 great captors in the world, are slightly injured by Chui. Compared to the two of them, although there are many experts sent by the East Factory, adding one piece cannot compare to any of them. It's not that Chao Jingchun is not interested, but that the East Factory has been plotting a major event recently and really can't spare anyone." Speaking of Cao Cao, as they were speaking, they saw a handsome and elegant young master walking towards them, with a graceful figure and a veil on her head. Having seen many years of wandering in the martial arts world and seeing countless young talents and wealthy young masters, I swear that no one can compare to the young man in front of me. Even the most beautiful man in the world, Yulong Jiangfeng, who was once reborn, is just like that. This person is exactly the 9th Prince Zhao Xuan they are waiting for. No, he should be called Prince Cheng now. As soon as he came out and saw the crowd waiting for him in front of him, Zhao Xuan apologized to them. "Let everyone wait. I really want to take a good look at the palace before leaving, so I walked a bit slower. Please forgive me." Zhao Xuan's voice was elegant and moving, and his words were filled with sincerity and a convincing magic, making people feel close. In addition, he apologized to them as a noble prince, and at this moment, he couldn't help but feel that he had just cursed the other person in his heart, which was really wrong. Zhao Xuan walked over with a smile and said, "This must be the famous Constable Chui, slightly injured. Mr. Chui, even in the palace, he has heard of the names of the 4 famous constables. Today, he was fortunate enough to meet them. As expected, there is no illustrious scholar under his high reputation. I wonder if this brother has a noble name." Duan Tianya quickly clasped his fists and saluted, introducing himself as follows. "I am Duan Tianya from Hulong Mountain Villa, an unknown junior. It's not a big deal, and it's normal for the prince not to have heard of me." Zhao Xuan suddenly realized and said, "It turned out to be Duan Gongzi. Duan Gongzi doesn't need to be polite. I have heard that Uncle Huang has an adopted son, but I haven't had the chance to meet him all along. Even if he is Uncle Huang's adopted son, we can still be considered brothers. There's no need to be too polite, I never pay attention to these vulgar gifts." After that, Zhao Xuan continued to say to everyone, "I rely on everyone for the safety of the king. Along the way, I will rely on everyone. Everyone has suffered a lot. When we arrive at the fiefdom, I will personally invite everyone to show my gratitude." Everyone exclaimed that they dare not dare. Then, Zhao Xuan took Jiang Yuyan into the carriage, while Chen Chongying and Chen Xuanli took the vehicles behind them. Seeing Zhao Xuan being so polite and not carrying the airs of a prince, his heroic pursuit of life greatly increased his liking for him, as mentioned to Duan Tianya. "Old Duan, don't worry, this Prince Cheng is really different from the rumored one. He has a good character, and it seems that the road ahead is not that difficult. Duan Tianya also nodded and said that the other party's behavior is difficult to dislike. Moreover, there are differences between rulers and officials. If the other party is so talkative, then executing this escort task will be much easier. After Zhao Xuan got into the carriage, the convoy began to depart, and the whole group of people and horses marched towards the city gate in a grand manner. "Prince, we have already left the capital." Jiang Yuyan looked at Zhao Xuan, who had started to close her eyes and rest as soon as she entered the car, and said softly. Zhao Xuan suddenly opened his eyes with a flash of brilliance. "Finally coming out. From the moment I left the capital, I must walk down this road. No one can stop me, even my father cannot stop me. This seat, even if it's difficult, how much will it cost? I also want to sit up. Even if the bones are covered with blood, the mountains and rivers will be stained." As the carriage left the capital, Zhao Xian's ambition also began completely. End of this chapter.